Community Hotline is made possible with generous support by Gresham Ford, the dealer with a heart. The Contribute to the Community program provides the opportunity for the Gresham Ford team to make a positive impact, serving their customers and helping people across the community. And by the Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission. The Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission advocates on behalf of the public interest on communications policy issues at the local, state, and federal levels.
Hi, and welcome to Community Hotline. I'm Monica Weitzel. We're here at MetroEast Community Media in Gresham, Oregon. Thanks for joining us tonight. Tonight we have a full show, and we're going to start out talking with the Brian Grant Foundation. Here to represent the foundation, we have the Executive Director, Katrina Call. Thanks for being here, Katrina.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. And I've been really wanting to have the Brian Grant Foundation on for a while because I've heard really good things about it. And so maybe you could start out by telling me a little bit of the history of how this organization got started and maybe how long it's been around.
Sure. So Brian Grant, who's a former NBA player,
probably one of the most popular trailblazers of all time.
I
really,
like to think
really,
so.
He truly is. You ask anybody in my family, that's their favorite.
Yeah, Brian's great. And he was diagnosed with young onset Parkinson's in 2008 at the age of 36, 2 years after retirement. And at the time, he wanted to do something to help people living with the disease, and he started the foundation in 2010, largely to support research toward a cure.
Right.
Like many people living with chronic illness, he came to a point where he really wanted to do more about living daily with the disease, how to optimize your health and live as best you can, even though with a chronic condition. And so being an athlete, it made a lot of sense for him to start looking at exercise as a form of therapy for Parkinson's. And over the years, we've also brought on nutrition and some emotional support work as well. And so our organization really focuses on helping people live better lives with Parkinson's on a daily basis through exercise, nutrition, and a supportive community.
There's been a lot of research, hasn't there, to support that daily exercise and keeping moving and good nutrition is really key to staying healthy. Well, not only people with Parkinson's, but everybody. But that really is it makes a huge difference in the quality of life.
Yeah, there's a lot of research into exercise and Parkinson's, and more is coming with nutrition and Parkinson's. And fortunately, we have right in our backyard researchers up at OHSU who are looking at not just is exercise good for people with Parkinson's, just like it's good for you and I, but are there specific types of activities you can do that can delay some of the common symptoms of the disease?
Well, tell me a little bit about those symptoms, what those are. I mean, I'm familiar with some, as you know, I said my mother had Parkinson's, so I'm familiar with some of them, but some of the more common ones, she didn't really have a problem with. Say, for example, people think of the shaking, the palsy, kind of like tremors, and she had that a little bit at the first, but then, and she had it for a very long time, and after a while, her medication was able to take care of that. But there were other things. What are some of the most common symptoms?
Well, most people think about Parkinson's as a movement disorder. It's classified as a movement disorder because there's a part of the brain that's breaking down that produces dopamine that controls movement. So when you think about Parkinson's, most people think about a tremor. They think about rigidity. Movements become slow. They become smaller. That's something called bradykinesia. And basically, those are what's known as the movement symptoms of the disease. But Parkinson's, over the last decade or so, they've really started to learn so much more about the disease, and it's no longer just thought of as a movement disorder with motor symptoms. Dopamine controls a lot of things in the body, including emotions.
Right.
So there's emotional changes that come with the disease. Sleep problems are often an issue. We're learning more and more that there's cognitive impairment that comes with this disease as well. And so we're, again, as we're learning more about Parkinson's, exercise is great for the motor symptoms, but we also know that exercise is incredibly good for your mood. It's incredibly good for sleep. It's incredibly good for a number of other issues. Another common symptom of the disease actually is digestive issues, problems with swallowing, chewing, digesting food. And so that's, in addition to the fact that, again, good nutrition is important for everyone, supports a healthy brain.
Right.
It also can help with a lot of those digestive issues. So that's where we tend to focus our efforts.
Okay. And it's kind of different for everybody, right? I mean,
oh, yeah.
What one person's symptoms are going to be different than somebody else's. And how quickly the disease progresses, and possibly some of that, or probably some of it has to do with the treatment that they have and how they're coping with it on a daily basis through their exercise and nutrition. You brought a video that it's Brian, right?
Yeah,
it's about Brian
that's right.
and his path to where he is today. So maybe we could take a look at that. I think it gives a good history of how this all got started.
Great.
Okay, thanks. Let's roll that video.
On the drive, it's Grant for the jumper. Yes! With 1.4 to go, Brian Grant goes, follows up. Grant with another offensive rebound and slam. And one foul. Highway in the middle. Grant down. You gotta love it.
The only thing I knew about Parkinson's was what I'd seen in Michael J. Fox and Muhammad Ali. And that was scary at that point. That was very scary because I thought, damn, I'm 6'9". Really, I mean, I'm 6'9", and if I'm like that, how am I gonna function? How am I gonna live? The thing that bothered me the most about that was that no one could tell me what to do, not even my neurologist, who was one of the top neurologists in the country and sat on Michael J. Fox's board. I didn't want to tell anybody because I didn't know if I wanted the whole world to know. But, as I was coaching my son's basketball team, kids being kids, hey, Mr. Grant, why's your hand shaking? Oh, I don't know, I'm doing it on purpose, those types of things, answers for a kid. It was around that time I received a phone call from Michael J. Fox. At this time, I would like to introduce Mr. Michael J. Fox to the stage.
You don't pray for a lighter load, you pray for broader shoulders. And you got the broadest shoulders I've ever seen.
After speaking with him and hearing his courage and his optimism, after him being honest with me, telling me that if I do go public, it becomes a requirement of mine to be there for the public and be a spokesperson and advocate to get the information to the people. That just really changed my mind. I wanted to get out there.
Brian Grant played 12 NBA seasons. His battle now is much more daunting than anything he faced on a basketball court.
It's just another battle, just like going out on the court battling Shaq for a night or battling, a top assignment or battling a cold. You just got to battle. You can't never give up. Like 1 million of my fellow Americans, I suffer from Parkinson's disease.
He's now trying to use this disease and use this terrible thing that's happened to him to raise awareness. He feels like it happened to him because he was big enough to handle it.
This year, we plan on having our second annual Shake It Till We Make It event, and it will benefit the Brian Grant Foundation. I began to see that there was an area that was not being addressed with this disease. Maybe we could start the foundation again and provide some type of place for people to come and know, first of all, that they're not alone, that it's not a death sentence, and that you can live a normal life. That Parkinson's doesn't have to be your life, it can just be a part of your life.
Wow. It's very powerful when somebody who's a public figure who is really well respected and loved in a community is able to come forward and represent something like that and to be honest and open about it. It really makes a difference to people. I hope he realizes that, that it really does make a difference to people to to be able to see that. So.
Yeah, I would say it's one of the most rewarding parts of my job, actually, is to hear from people around the globe who are given the diagnosis of this disease, who are fearful and scared of all that's going to come with it, and then they find us online and they see photos of Brian and they see videos of Brian and they see him climbing mountains and they see him exercising, but they also see him talking about how hard it is to talk to his kids and being a dad and all of the other aspects of it, and they're inspired by him. He's accessible to them, they connect with him, and it's so rewarding for me to be able to be a part of that and touch people's lives in that way.
I'm sure it is. And you told me that you actually worked for the Michael J. Fox Foundation previously too, so you have a lot of knowledge of this disease and how it affects people. So yeah, it's got to be inspirational to be able to see that every day. And Brian is actually very involved in going out in the community and talking about his organization. I've seen him at several different events, and he's always very accessible.
Yeah, Brian is a genuinely nice man who wants
yeah.
to make a difference for people living with Parkinson's. And along the way, he does other things for the community too. He's one of those guys, if people call and they need help and they're trying to do something that's worthwhile, he'll stand up and he'll fight and help them out. So
that's wonderful. That's
yeah.
wonderful. Now I know you talked about exercise and nutrition, how important they are. So you at the foundation, you actually have cooking classes. You put them on yourself, or who does those? And the exercise training. Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, on the exercise front, we work with researchers up at OHSU to kind of take what they're learning up in the lab and turn it into curriculum to teach exercise instructors and therapists and others about the types of movements that can support people living better with Parkinson's.
Okay.
So we kind of teach the professionals who then go out into the community and host classes for people with the disease to come in and exercise and get to know each other. There's a lot of camaraderie in those classes. For nutrition, we do cooking classes, and we actually host
like
those.
These.
Yeah, we work with, this year we've done a lot of work with Fred Meyer, who allows us to use their teaching kitchen and supports that, as well as Bob's Red Mill and other sponsors. Yeah, the wonderful products.
Yeah.
And we bring people into the kitchen. We talk to them about good nutrition and ways that it can support their symptom management and how to eat well. But we also talk to them about what to do when cooking becomes hard, because the motor symptoms make it difficult. So, we talk to them about adaptations when it's hard to dice things and chop things up. And we talk to them about what happens when you're having problems with swallowing and chewing, and ways that foods you can eat to support that. And along the way, there's also some of that cognitive impairment I was talking about. So we also try to make it so that it's pretty simple to be able to continue to cook at home, eat really good foods, and if you love to
safely.
cook, that's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Do you ever have family members and other members of whoever that person is, of their support team, come to the classes too, so they can kind of learn as they go along with them?
Oh yeah, I would say it's pretty half and half, actually.
Okay,
yeah. We get
it seems like that would be a great idea.
Yeah, we get a lot of spouses. We get a lot of children, or of siblings. We had a cooking class actually last Saturday, and one of the women was living in Bend, and her sister, who is in Portland, came for her and got all the information and learned. So, and along the way, a lot of times people forget about the person that's at home supporting somebody with a chronic illness, and they're doing a lot of work.
It's a hard job.
It's a hard job, and
for any kind of caretaker, it's a hard job.
So in addition to knowing that a lot of times they're actually the person that's going to be cooking or doing the grocery shopping or taking them to the exercise class or whatever it is, their health is just as important too, because if their health starts to decline, then it becomes even more difficult.
Yeah. And really, if they also know that there may be some swallowing problems that are going to happen, then what do I do about that? How do I deal with that? Or if you're living with that person or with them frequently, be able to support them in doing their exercises, and maybe do it with them, whatever, just to help be that kind of support. So, yeah, that's good. Tell me, you must have a lot of community partners that help with this, and you said the OHSU is a big one, but you also have to raise money to keep this going.
Yeah.
So you have fundraisers
regularly,
regularly, different kinds. You have one coming up next month in September, the Plates for Parkinson's. What can you tell me about that? Is this the first year for it, or do you do this every year?
This is actually our first Plates for Parkinson's.
Okay, 'cause I hadn't heard of it before. I know I've heard of the the Shake It, how do they
Shake It Till We Make It
Gala?
Gala?
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Yeah, the galas are a lot of fun, and it's a wonderful evening. But we really wanted to be able to also talk about our nutrition program a little bit more, and what a better place to talk about that than Portland, Oregon, where you have amazing food coupled with people who are very, very health conscious in what they choose to eat. And so we thought about that pretty hard when we were trying to think of a really good event to bring the community together, talk about nutrition, but have fun too.
Right.
We thought, wouldn't it be great to approach restaurants in the Portland area and say, hey, would you be willing to work with us to provide samples of small bites of healthy menu options that lend themselves to a good lifestyle with Parkinson's? And so we've got some great people on board: Swank and Swine, Market of Choice, Tan Cafe, Salsas Locas, which is, I believe, out here in Gresham, and they're coming in to provide healthy menu options for the night. And along the way, Brian will be there. We'll have music. It'll be a really fun atmosphere.
Right. That sounds like fun. And
yeah.
that's going to be at Urban Studio?
That's
Where
correct.
is Urban Studio? Where is that located?
So it's on Northwest 9th and Davis. It's right in the heart of the Pearl.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So it
Easy
should be
to get to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. It'll be a lot of fun.
Before we run out of time, tell me about, are there volunteer opportunities with your organization?
Absolutely. We run events all year long, and so we are always looking for people who want to come out and support those events and be a part of that work.
So that's the main thing where you need volunteers is for all the events.
And we also have a program advisory committee, so it's patients and caregivers that help support and guide our programs and help just make sure that we're meeting the needs of the community. Okay. So for people who are affected by Parkinson's in some way, if they want to be a part of our work, particularly our programs, they can find us online at briangrant.org.
Great. Well, super. We'll have some of that information on the screen. Thank you very much, Katrina, for being here.
Thank you.
Keep up the wonderful work.
Thank
and
you.
Tell Brian thank you for all he's done, too. So
I will.
Appreciate it.
I will.
Thanks for watching this first segment of Community Hotline. We'll be right back with more, so please don't go away.
Hotline is made possible with generous support by Gresham Ford, the dealer with a heart. The Contribute to the Community program provides the opportunity for the Gresham Ford team to make a positive impact, serving their customers and helping people across the community. And by the Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission. The Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission advocates on behalf of the public interest on communications policy issues at the local, state, and federal levels.
My documentary was more than I ever would have dreamed of doing.
This is a community media station.
It was phenomenal.
Ready, camera one.
What is it about this place that makes so many different people come together?
Ready, camera two.
Very professional, experienced people. You can use these industry standard pieces of equipment.
Ready, camera three. Take three.
To be rich to do this.
Open people's eyes to something they've never even thought of before.
Cool stuff happens. It becomes this community.
That's going to really change who's telling the stories and who's controlling the messaging.